So a business owner that I know passed away from COVID during the height of the pandemic, and his son became the successor. The issue is that in spite of him working in the organization for about 10 years, there was still a significant gap between his knowledge of how decisions were made and even a gap in how the operations of the organization functions. Now, that's a problem that we're seeing as organizational development more frequently as time goes on. I believe that company leadership is responsible. It is our duty as company leaders to make sure that we are leaving the company better than we left it. It is our responsibility because the products and services that your companies offer, people rely on the success of your business. If you think about your customers, some of your customers depend on the products that you offer. Some of the employees rely on the financial success of the organization. So what we're talking about today has to do with succession planning. Why succession planning? Why is it so important? The misconception of succession planning is when you're ready to retire, this is when you initiate your succession planning. When you're ready to step away from your role, this is the time. Guess what? Succession planning is a tool that you use today to help delegate and free up some of your time to invest in better things in the organization. So because it's a tool that should be used now and not later, there are 3 areas that we're going to look at. There's a burden on the organization if you don't do it. There are reasons why people fail to engage in succession planning now, and then there's an urgency related to that. When you have a change in a role, there's always going to be some kind of disruption, pun intended. And when you have that kind of disruption, you have employees that leave, you have organizational knowledge that leaves, and then customer churn. There are tangible losses your business will face if you don't engage in succession planning sooner than later. Things like less revenue, lost time, delays in decisions. And also, if you didn't have a focus in new customer acquisition, if you have customer churn, guess what? New customer acquisition is now your focus. What I found is often leaders are married to the power that they have as leaders. There's a bottlenecking process that happens when you have some power. And when you fall in love with that power, especially when you fall in love with your knowledge and your information power, you fail to actually help the organization move in a forward trajectory. And so everyone here has some kind of fear, a job-related fear. So as you're looking at this, I want you to think about which number you relate to in terms of the fear that you have as in the business. And as you're thinking about that fear, take that fear and throw it in the garbage. Because the reality is none of us know if we're going to make it home tonight. The reality is my business owner friend didn't know that he was going to pass away from COVID. And so that fear that drives us to not move forward and help the business, we hurt the company and the people that depend on it. So what we should be doing is looking for opportunities that are in front of us, not be driven by fear or the love of power. Instead, we should be driven by opportunities to invest back in the organization. Now, there's an urgency here because our population continues to age, and 56% of leaders in your organizations and 40% of business owners are baby boomers. This is not about baby boomers, but there's an urgency because of the aging population, and in about 2 years, only 10% of the workforce will be baby boomers. Succession planning needs to start today, and that is a system of things, as you see on the screen here. There are many things that are part of succession planning. It's a system that you use. If done right and if done today, you can leverage that for delegation. And so I want you to think of this. Think of the decisions that you make of most frequently right now and document those decisions that you make every day. Write those down. And I tell you what, there's a saying that if you can't document what you do, you don't know what you're doing. So document what you do in order that we can understand what decisions are being made. And then on top of that, what resources do you rely on in order to make those decisions? Where do you go? Who do you connect with to bring those resources back to the organization to help your company move in a forward trajectory? Last thing you can consider is onboarding. For your role specifically, what is the onboarding plan for your role? What is the 90-day onboarding plan, the 180-day onboarding plan? When you start to put this system, you see what I'm talking about? You start to put this system in place, now you set up an opportunity for today. Even if you're not stepping away from the role, you're setting yourself up today to be able to delegate. And what could you do with your time if you had more hours for the organization? How much value could you add to the organization if you didn't spend it in the tedious task, but instead you added it to greater value for your company? So my call to action to everyone here, engage in succession planning right now when you get home. Thank you very much.